The big upset. Ohio State upsets Michigan State 60-57. Game-winning shot by Dale Bonner. Kind of like a pseudo buzzer beater. There was technically still time left on the clock, but it was a reverse court storming, as we referenced earlier, where the Ohio State team just runs onto the court, and then everybody just in the stands turns away and walks the other way. So this was a crazy game. There was a lot of hype going into this game because Jamison Battle, and I broke that really, really early on. He was not going to play. He was out for the game. And in addition to that, Xavier Booker was going to make his first start for Michigan State in this one as well. So there was just a lot of really interesting storylines going into this game. And I was kind of talking with some Michigan State fans on Twitter, and I said, look, the only way Ohio State wins this game is if Michigan State doesn't play the way they're supposed to. Ohio State will not win this game because they're the better team. Michigan State will lose this team because they play as the worst team. Kent, would you agree that Michigan State did not play up to their potential today and that they were just the worst team today?
100%. They scored, 9 points in the last 12 minutes of the game. They just could not find a bucket in the second half, especially the second half of the second half. They could not score in this game. And you got to really credit Ohio State's defense. I thought they played really good defensively, especially, I'm going to butcher his name because I don't think I've ever said it out loud, but Akpara, he is disrupting things down low in a major way. And in this game, he definitely was. But going back to a couple of things that you said, I got a couple questions about some stuff you said. First of all, when they rush the court and there's still time on the clock, my immediate thought, I didn't see anything. I haven't even been on Twitter since that game got over yet. But the first thing that I saw or that I thought of was, is there any room for Michigan State fans to be mad that they were on the court before the game was over and a technical foul possibly being assessed? That's what my thought was. Is that dumb to think that?
I think the buzzer went off, so I think the kind of forgiveness is there that they thought the game was over. And then Jake Diebler was also getting the guys off the floor as soon as possible because he was the same way where he's like, guys, don't get a tech. Come on.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, so
he went down to his knees at first, and then as soon as he kind of thought about it, wait, it might not be over, he was like, get out of here. But the second thing that you said though, Xavier Booker, Michigan State fans have been campaigning for this guy to be in the starting lineup and get more minutes. They really have nothing to say now. I don't think. I get it. He wasn't in later in the game in maybe some crucial moments where you'd like to see him in, but he started, like you said. He played. How many minutes do you want this guy to play and be a factor? Because he played 17 tonight and it didn't help. They still lost to a team that was missing, like you said, Jamison Battle, and a guy
weren't they better when he was in though? Weren't they better when he was in?
Yeah, I think they were. But I don't know. It's just tough because it's do you want him to play the whole game?
Yeah.
I don't think Izzo's doing a great job this year either. And he's definitely taking a lot of flack from their fans. And I'm right there with him. I think he should be. But what are you going to play him 30 minutes tonight? You going to play Xavier Booker 30 minutes? I don't know. How many minutes do you want him to play?
I think the biggest thing for me, and somebody said it earlier, I need to, here we go. Fisherman. Izzo not putting Booker back in for the final 15 minutes costing this game. I think that's what I point out, less so than the minute total. It's at the end of the game, he just wasn't there. And Michigan State was better on the floor when Xavier Booker was on the floor in this game. I mean, I think his plus minus was 11, which we can argue about.
I'm going to look it up right now. I'm going to look up his plus minus.
Yeah, I mean, we can argue about what that stat means, but when everybody else is in the negative and he's at 11, that means something. And to me, I liked the way that Michigan State was playing better when Xavier Booker was in there. He was able to spread the floor. He wasn't some clunky Carson Cooper out there who can't, walk without, what was it, 11?
11.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought I looked it up. Or Fisherman says plus 12. Anyway, whatever it was, plus 11, plus 12. He was the best plus minus on that team. And to not have him on the floor at all for the last, I get if it's only 5, he's a freshman. You don't want to have him out there in the crunch time. But still, just, I don't know what Izzo's thinking. I don't know what he's doing. It's at home. And I don't know. I think Xavier Booker should have been out there. But the real story of it all was the real breakout freshman. And I know I got to bring him up because, Ohio State and everything. Devin Royal. If this guy transfers, I will cry. I will cry if Devin Royal transfers because Devin Royal is really, really good, and he's finally getting minutes under Jake Diebler, and he's actually playing, I think, to the potential of who he can actually be. What do you think, Kent?
I thought I almost had a heart attack when he got rolled up on in like the last 5 minutes because like I thought his ankle was broken at first. I was like, that looked bad. But yeah, he played outstanding tonight. He looked really good. I thought both, like I just said, Akpara and him, I thought they both looked really good. But for me, honestly, I'm gonna say one other guy's name because I think that he deserves even more credit. It's Roddy Gale, because he was knocking down those free throws in the clutch moments, which Michigan State is, I think they used to be last. I don't know where they're at right now, but they are one of the worst free throw shooting teams, and it showed tonight. It finally showed tonight. It finally bit them tonight. Usually you're waiting for Michigan State to like Tyson Walker's going to hit one of those monster threes and they're going to pull out this like close win against a team that they should be beating. And I kept waiting for that to happen. Well, tonight it was him on the free throw line, and he had a chance to hit 2 free throws to go up with I think it was 6 seconds left. Maybe 8 seconds
free throw
left.
Wedgie.
What was that?
The free throw wedgie.
Free throw wedgie. Yeah, exactly. Missed it. He got the free throw wedgie and then made the second one, obviously. But they missed so many free throws all the time, and it finally bit them tonight. And on the other side, Roddy Gale hit them all. He hit them all down the stretch when he needed to put them up, to put them closer, to tie the game. Whenever they needed him to hit a free throw, he was hitting it, and the place was going crazy. So I got to give him a lot of credit for knocking those down, man. So really, like, to me, 3 MVPs in this game. And even Thornton played good tonight, man. Like, they all it was just a really good game for Ohio State. And like I said last week, the exact same thing I said last week about this team. It's the team that we've been waiting to see since the beginning of the year. I had way higher hopes for this team going into the year. Maybe Diebler is onto something. Maybe it is him. I tweeted that out last week. Maybe it actually was Chris Holtman's fault. Maybe it was.
Yeah, we'll talk about Izzo here in a minute. I saw we have a couple comments, but I just want to say this about Diebler really fast. When Ohio State was winning earlier on in the season, you saw Chris Holtman go 10, 11 players deep. And I get it. Everybody, shortens up their lineup and the guys getting minutes, into the conference, because that's kind of when you figure out what you got. Early on in the season, some of the easy games you play, you get a few good tests, and you kind of figure that out. Every team does that. But Jake Diebler has come in here, and, I mean, he played 10 guys tonight. And a night where one of your starters was hurt, he played 10 guys, 5+ minutes, almost, 5+. All of them played 5+ minutes in this game. I mean, the only guys that didn't play that have played this season was Jameson Battle. Of course, he was hurt, and then Austin Parks didn't play. But you didn't really need Austin Parks because Akpara and Key were doing so well. It didn't really make any sense. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like, you would think it'd be weird to be playing 10, 11 guys, but it's working for Ohio State because you throw so many different looks in there, and you have somebody who pops off like a Devin Royal and somebody from the bench who makes a game-winning shot in Dale Bonner. So I don't know if Jake Diebler is just randomly throwing guys in there hoping something works, or if he has some kind of madman strategy that, nobody can figure out, but it's working for him. So I can't really blame him.
You can't blame
thoughts
him
on that before we talk about Izzo?
Yeah, you can't really get mad at him either, though, because, like, at least he's trying. Like, there was a moment with, like, I think it was like 7 minutes left in the game, and the announcers even pointed it out. I forget which 3 guys it was, but he basically had 3 bigs in there. I think it was Key, Akpara, and I don't know who the third guy was. Do you remember that moment where they were mentioning? What's that?
Which moment? I'm sorry.
I think they had 3 big guys, and it doesn't really matter. The point is, though, that he's at least trying these other lineups, and that's exactly what the announcer said, too. They were like, hey, he's just really trying to figure out what is going to work in whatever moment they are in. And, tonight, every button that he pushed, it seemed like it was kind of working for them, getting them back into this game. I mean, they were down by 10 at halftime. This is impressive. On the road at the Breslin, that's tough to do. Not many teams come back from 10 in East Lansing. So, I mean, you got to give him a ton of credit for, even if he tried and it didn't work, at least he's trying to put the guys out there to try to go get the win when the game is on the line. So I give him a ton of credit.
Yeah, for sure. Alibaba, as Izzo lost his mojo, where are you guys in the legendary coats in the midst of another subpar season? Kent, you want to take that first?
Yes, he 100% has. He is, I mean, let's face facts. This guy is old. He's old, and I'm not going to say the game has passed him, but I will say that he is tired of the change. I mean, this is a brand new college basketball than what he's used to. Back when he won a national championship, it was you get guys in, you develop them for 4 years, and you can build these guys up, and they're all from Michigan and all this good stuff. And that's exactly what he did, and it was really successful for him. That's not the way it is anymore. You got to bring NIL involved. You got transfers involved. You got to still recruit. You got to recruit your own guys to stay. And to his credit, I thought he did a good job going into this season doing that because the roster was stacked going into this year. But for whatever reason, he did all those things right on the front end. And it almost seems like he lost focus on the thing that got him there in the first place, which was developing these guys and creating a really tough team. And they're not that this year. So it's tough to see that because that's really what you like to see out of Tom Izzo. Like, his coaching is really what has pushed him through to be a great coach. And it's almost like it flip-flopped now. He was focused on all that other stuff and then kind of lost sight of the coaching stuff. That's what I've seen. I still think he's a great coach. I still think, I mean, we see flashes of it, coming out of timeouts in certain situations. But, yeah, the overall grind of the season and everything else that he's got to deal with has got to be weighing. It would weigh on anybody. Any normal man would be exhausted by this at this point. So I don't blame him. But I think he's tired.
I mean, I just look at all these teams and I say, what did they do? Like Purdue, Illinois, Northwestern, Wisconsin. What did they do that has been so crucial to their success this season? They brought in a high-level transfer who was able to add to their starting lineup. Jaden Akins should not be starting. There should have been a transfer to come in for Jaden Akins. And I'm not trying to say Jaden Akins is bad. I'm not saying he, hasn't developed or anything like that. But ideally, you should have brought in a transfer who was better than Jaden Akins to make the starting lineup better, or at least a big man who was better than Matty Sissoko to help give you more of a post presence down low. Imagine if Michigan State got Khalil Ware from Indiana. I mean, that'd been huge. Khalil Ware has been huge for them this season. It's been kind of sad to see because Indiana is not very good. But, imagine if they got Khalil Ware and brought him in there. You look at Purdue. They brought in Lance Jones. Illinois, they brought in, who was it? This Marcus Domask this season. I almost said Terrence Shannon Jr. He was last year. Northwestern, they brought in that Princeton guy. I forget his name off the top of my head, but he's been coming off the bench and he's still been great, but he's starting now because Ty Berry is injured. Wisconsin, they brought in A.J. Storr. Nebraska brought in Rank Mass, Juwan Gary, all these other guys. Minnesota, they brought in, who's the one that they brought in? I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, somebody in the chat will tell me because I forget who it is. But you look at all these other guys.
Hawkins, is it?
Yeah, well, Hawkins was a transfer, but I don't remember if he came in this year or not. Philip says Langborg for Northwestern. Thank you, Philip. But yeah, no, I mean, all these teams, the point is all these teams have brought in some kind of transfer to either start or play a significant role on the team. And Michigan State did not do that. They brought in Tyson Walker 2 years ago, I think it was, and he's been great, but you have to bring in these guys to be these star players, maybe not star players, but be big contributing players on your team because that's what everybody else is doing and they're upgrading. And if you're not doing that, you're behind. And unfortunately, Izzo, I don't think he's lost his mojo in coaching, but he's losing his mojo with the transfer portal and some of this NIL stuff that's going on. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think what he was thinking was probably going to happen this year was that Booker and Cohen Carr were going to fill that void that they didn't really need to get a transfer. And you look up at, obviously box score watching after a loss is really easy, but like those two guys had 9 total points tonight and they lost at home. So if you're going to bring in, I believe both those guys were 5 stars. I know for a fact Booker was. I think Cohen Carr was as well. But if you're going to bring in a couple 5-star guys, though, 5-star recruits need to contribute year one. Yep. And they're not doing that. And it's because of him, though. He's not giving them the opportunity to do that. So if you're going to bring in those guys, play them. Play them more. Play them like the chat was saying. Play them in the minutes that they are supposed to be in the crunch time minutes, basically. When the game is on the line, let's put these freshmen in. Let's put the 5-stars in and let them 5-star. Let them go win games for you. And he's just, I don't know. I really don't know. I'd love to know what he's thinking exactly. Like, this is my reasoning for not playing these guys. And I think that it's going to pay off for this reason. I really don't know what he's thinking. And pretty much everyone that I've talked to and have seen tweets about, they don't get it either. So if nobody's understanding it, he can't be the only smart person. It's got to be, he's the wrong one at this point. So yeah, I don't know what he's supposed to do. Just make a change. I guess at this point in the year, it's going to be tough though.
Well, and he killed himself because Xavier Booker would be better right now if he was playing those minutes. And the most common thing that I've heard is that Tom Izzo sees Xavier Booker as a 4 and not a 5, which, okay, sure. I get that. You know, you can't just swap him in for Matty Sissoko when Matty's the 5 and, you know, Xavier's a 4. But does he have the size to play the 5? Yes. He definitely has the size to go in there and play the 5. Would he be better than Matty Sissoko? Yes, I believe so. Especially if you have given him all season long starting and playing in these tough games, like they played at the beginning of the year. Baylor, James Madison, all these other teams. I mean, James Madison, we didn't know was going to be a tough team, but they ended up being because they're actually pretty good. But I mean, at the end of the day, like he would not have the same problem if he would have just given Xavier Booker the time to develop, to get better, because game time is the best time to learn how to play, especially in the Big Ten. And unfortunately, he didn't. And now he's just kind of laying in it. And who knows? They might not make the tournament. I
just don't understand that logic, though. If he's a 4, okay, so who's the 4 playing in front of him? Is it Cooper?
Malik Hall.
Oh, Hall. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Which makes sense.
But Cooper's getting more minutes too, though, than him.
Yeah.
Most games.
Cooper's the backup 5. But
okay, so he's the 3rd string 5, but he can't be the 2nd string 4 behind Hall. Then.
Yeah.
I don't understand this. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Obviously, that all was out the window tonight because he technically started. So. Yeah. I guess he's a first string guy. I don't know.
Weird. Everybody's talking about this, so I feel like we have to bring it up.
Let's do it.
The Lamont Paris goes to Ohio State and brings Michi Johnson back. That would be awesome. So they're talking about the head coach rumors for Ohio State. Obviously, the big rumor right now that everybody's talking about is Sean Miller to Ohio State from Xavier. Sean Miller doesn't get any dirtier than Sean Miller, maybe Bill Self, but those are kind of the 2 dirtiest guys in the game. I personally, and I know people won't like this who are Ohio State fans, I personally would be totally fine with Sean Miller. That's actually kind of who I want more than anybody else. But Kent, from an outside perspective, because I know you're not an Ohio State fan, outside perspective, do you like the hire of Lamont Paris, Sean Miller, maybe a Greg McDermott? What kind of hires are you looking at for this Ohio State job that you like?
I gotta really show my casualness right now because I don't know who Lamont Paris is.
He's a South Carolina coach.
Okay,
he's 3-5 or something like that this year.
So it's definitely not him for me. McDermott would be great.
Yeah.
I have some stories, and this is going to be a tease for people that are listening, but I'm going to share some stories with you about Sean Miller after we're done recording that I don't want going out on the internet. So that's going to be fun for you after this, because you're right. He is very dirty, but I think that in this age of college basketball, that doesn't matter anymore because everything's being done out in the open now. Yeah. So like now it's just coming down to like, who is the best at being dirty at this point, but it's not even dirty anymore because it's legal. So let's bring in all the guys. And you know what? I think Sean Miller's a great recruiter. So I think that realistically, he would be a great hire if you're a Buckeyes fan at this point. And honestly, I think that is who they are ultimately going to go with is Sean Miller. So that's my prediction, and I think that if you're an Ohio State fan, you got to be excited about that because all the stuff that's happened in the past, like that's not really an issue anymore. Like, do you agree with me on that? Like, I feel like he can go recruit guys, he can go bring guys in, he can actually offer guys money now. I mean, technically, I guess he's not supposed to be doing that, but you know, it's out in the open, and guys are getting money, so it's like, let's bring in the best coach we can and a guy that's really good at getting high level recruits, which he's got a track record of doing. And let's go win some games again. And I think that he would be a great hire for Ohio State.
I made this point to some people on Twitter last night because I said I was for Sean Miller and made a lot of Ohio State fans upset. We tried hire the nice guy and bring him in, nicest guy in the sport, and have him just be like a father figure to these guys and, you know, just do a great job. That didn't work. Okay. As much as I love Chris Holtman personally and think he's just a fantastic person, that didn't work. So for me, I'm like, let's go complete 180, hire the dirtiest guy in the sport, hire the guy who has been fired from a top tier job because he got investigated with the FBI. Because look at this in college football, when everything started happening with NIL, who was the best at it right away? The SEC, because the SEC was doing this long before the Big Ten and everybody else was.
Right.
All right.
Right.
So if you want somebody who can go in there and bring in some dudes with some money and the NCAA not be able to do a thing about it, give me Sean Miller, because Sean Miller was doing this far before anybody else was. He was probably the grandfather of this. Like, he was doing this far before anybody else was. So bring him in, let him just start wheeling and dealing, give him the NIL budget that Ohio State has. And man, we'll have all Americans on this roster in no time.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's absolutely the right move, and that's who they should go with.
Thanks for listening to the Big Ten Huddle. Please do like and subscribe. We appreciate that. If this was your first time listening, we are the Big Ten Huddle. We cover all things Big Ten football and basketball. We have a long episode every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, all at 9 o'clock. So come in, check us out, get in the chat, let us know what you're thinking. We would love to have you join us and learn more about the Big Ten.